So much for joining us for our first partner seminar for 2025. Most of you have probably figured this out already, but this is Jackie from Her Victory. All I have to say to introduce Jackie is I am so excited that she's here, because if I'm ever feeling down or not motivated or thinking, what's this whole thing worth fighting for anyways, then listening to her is, that cures that real fast. So very inspiring speaker. I think Jeff put it really well the first time that she talked to our group when she was done, and after she was gone, he said behind her back, he's like, if anybody doesn't believe in prayer, well, there you go. So let's give a big hand to Jackie from Her Victory.
Well, thank you for the warm introduction, Rem. Like Yvette said, good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking your time this evening to come out and hear all about Her Victory. I'm going to be digging a little bit into exploitation, human trafficking, Her Victory, who we are, a little bit of our history. And so I think we're going to reserve some questions for the end. So if you've got any questions, I'm going to be hanging out after, or like I said, there'll be a Q&A, some time for some Q&A at the end. So I'm going to put these on because my eyes are starting to go. That happens when you get over 40, right? So I first and foremost just want to thank the Freedom 884 group. We started in partnership with them. They were partners with Next Step Ministries. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Next Step Ministries. And Next Step Ministries came under the umbrella of Her Victory. So when we came in the picture, Freedom 88, they had no idea who we were, what we were all about, who are these people, and they just embraced us as a ministry. And so we're just very thankful, very blessed to be a part of their organization, but also not only that, but the leaders of Freedom 8848, their passion, their heart, their drive, their work, their blood, sweat, and tears. They really put their hands to the plow when it comes to wanting to support other organizations. So I do want to say thank you for this opportunity here to hike. I was not aware last year it was my first one. It is not a hike, it is a climb. And so I showed up with, I thought, was fairly decent hiking runners, some Lululemon leggings, a little light rain jacket. That was not suffice, but they took care of me on the mountain, they fed me, they got me, did I go 3/4 of the way, maybe half? So great group of people, and and I do want to take this time too to recognize the other two partners, which is IGM and Macwadodum. I know this year it's a little bit different. You can choose who you want to climb for and support, but I do want to say that we're fully behind those organizations as well. They do different work. We're local, some are international, some have more of a, like I know Macwadodum with the Indigenous community. So whoever you choose to support, we're all in this together. Her Victory, we believe in collaboration. That's why we're partnered with the Freedom 8848 and the other organization as well. We fully support them in what they're doing. So at the end of the day, we're all on mission together. I think ultimately is doing this for the freedom of these women. So, that having said, I want to welcome climbers, supporters, those that are just here for some awareness, some education, just to introduce ourselves to Her Victory. So I just want to say welcome and thank you for being here this evening. Hey, Jeff.
You're sitting for a path.
Yeah, the tall guy's going to sit in front. So I should let you know Her Victory. I'm going to give a little bit of a history coming up in a few slides, but I am the founder and executive director since 2018. Literally this ministry was birthed out of a church basement, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that, and God has just taken it to new lengths. And so Her Victory really began to meet the needs of women experiencing traffic, exploitation, and hardship. So as I go through the presentation, I acknowledge that this is going to be some sensitive information. I'm going to be sharing some stories, just some different things on things that we see in Her Victory. Obviously not giving any names, and I'm not going to get into any details. So if you need to leave or you just want to step out, I'm not offended. I completely want to understand, so I just want to disclaim that before I get started. So we often, I guess we'll get started here. I often get asked the question, what is the difference between exploitation and human trafficking? Because Her Victory, we serve, advocate, love on. Like, our heart is to really reach these women where they're at, and that is women that are currently caught in the sex trade, exploited, or at risk of currently being trafficked. So the difference, I'm just going to give you the difference between the two. The definition of exploitation is action of treating someone unfairly or taking advantage of in order to profit or benefit from them. That is exploitation. The definition of human trafficking is the unlawful act of transporting, recruiting, coercing, which basically is forcing people in order to benefit from their work of service, typically in the form of sexual exploitation. So obviously both are combined, but they are defined differently. So if we can go to the next slide. So Her Victory. Her actually stands for Healing Exit Restoration. We are a very frontline, local-based organization. We engage directly with these individuals in various settings, including Calgary Women's Remand Prison, local strip clubs, illegal massage parlors, and on active prostitution strolls. We provide practical necessities, social work assistance, caseworkers, on-site trauma crisis counseling, and excited about the recent launch of Her Home, which is a fully Christ-centered based program for women to have community living, but also receive and equip the empowering and the tools that they need to move on, independently with their lives. So we'll go to the next slide there. So a look back, just a quick history. Like I mentioned, Her Victory really was birthed out of a church basement. I've been part of the Victory Outreach Foundation on a voluntary basis for over 20 years, sat on the board for a couple of years, and part of that, really, I'm a really hands-on person, was working in the different locations and the churches that they provide outreach services to. And one of those included our current Forest Lawn location, which is located on one of Calgary's last prostitution strolls. And so while that outreach church was offering, meals and some great support, I'm a bit of a problem solver, seeing these women come through the doors. We just weren't meeting them on a relational level, beyond just a meal, just getting to know them, where they're at, and how we could assist them further. And so that started back in 2018, again on a voluntary basis, really. And God just started to, obviously the need was there, so we raised money for a shower. We work out of a large clothing room facility. We have volunteers that meet these women where they're at. And hence grown over the years. As you can see, sorry, I should backtrack. In 2019, we launched quarterly events where we were serving these women meals. We did a Pack-A-Purse program, and we would bring in survivors of trafficking to come in to speak messages of hope to these women. So we were seeing the need in their eyes. We were seeing that the hopelessness, and they were looking for someone to just stand and advocate and come behind them. So we opened our doors. Like I said, we started doing the events. We were also seeing between 40 and 50 women a day caught in the sex trade coming through our doors. So there was a definite need. So we launched our stroll team, which basically went out in the evenings on the stroll to meet these women where they were at and invited back to our facility, where we basically just wanted to love on them. That was always the mission behind, and the calling behind the ministry was for the one. Jesus left the 99 for the one, and that's what we stand for as well to this day. Now, he sent us more than one, absolutely, in our doors, but we want to get to know her, her story, where she's at, and then advocate at lengths as much as we possibly can for her. So then in 2020, we were in the prisons, the stroll teams. We started developing strong allies with Calgary City Police. With trafficking, you're going to get addiction and you're going to get some elements of safety. So we partnered with them, serving an average of 30 to 40 women per day. 2021, we started forming partnerships with Not My City, who's a country sing fan with Paul Brandt. So we do a lot of work with him and his Not My City. He's very government level awareness. Obviously he has a very large platform, but he's come behind us at a community level and really creating change with the community, but at government level. So that's been a great partnership. Our food center increased, and we were seeing more and more women coming through our doors that were being trafficked. So not only caught locally here in this X-Trade, but also being trafficked across the nation, coming through our doors. So we've got a social worker on site, we've got a caseworker, trauma crisis counselor, and a plethora of great volunteers that meet these women, not only to just minister and show them the love of Jesus, provide practical needs, but also if they're ready for that second stage, to provide supports moving forward with our social worker and caseworkers. Just to skip quickly along, we launched the Bad Date Reporting Line. This is with Calgary City Police. A lot of women, when it comes to trafficking in the sex trade, there is a lot of sexual violence, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of things that are, we could say, above our pay grade. So we started a pilot project with the Calgary City Police where women could report to the Bad Date Line information that was happening without actually putting their name on it or them at risk. And so this continues today. It's piloted. We're hoping that it's going to go across the province. There's been some arrests through this Bad Date Line on traffickers and pimps. So it's actually been very successful, and it's something that we're pretty proud of. So moving forward, we are full charity status as an organization. We received that just the end of 2023, early 2024. Lots of structures formed, and just as of last year, like I said, launching our Safe House, and working on a partnership with Heels to Halos out of Texas within the strip club. So that's it in a nutshell, who we are and what we've been up to. So I encourage, if you'd like, on our website, hervictory.ca, we've also got our impact report last year that has all this information as well that you can check out. So, next slide, Ram. So our mission is to advocate, restore purpose, and create trusting relationships with those who are caught in the sex trade, exploited, or at risk of being trafficked. And our vision has remained the same: to walk alongside women in exploitation and remain committed to assist them in breaking the cycle of addiction and abuse. As you all know, we are a faith-based organization, so we want not only lives to change, but we want eternities to change as well. And so we are a heavily Christ-centered organization. We believe that God grieves slavery of people, and that these women are the very grain of his heart. And so our mission is to advocate, to show them the love of Jesus, but also give them the choice and the opportunity to see that they are loved, they have choices, and that we can stand with them. Next slide. So we often get asked what does a week look like at Her Victory? I often like to say that a lot of our staff, our volunteers, people, that it's like working in the ER some days. We never know what is coming in the door. Definitely we make sure as a group that we are prayed up, worshiped up, and armor up before every day that we open those doors. So just to give you an idea, this is one of the slides we had on our social media, but a week at Her Victory. We see women that are trafficked. We see women that come in are scammed, stalked, raped, kidnapped, and to be quite honest, we have a lot of women that will come in our doors before police or even going to the hospital. We've created that relationship with them, so on a weekly basis we can see any sort of thing. We want to give them a place of sanctuary, a place of safety, a place to talk, a place to shower, meet with one of our experienced team members. Sometimes they just need to vent what has happened. We have options for them to report, so we can advocate for her if there's things she wants to report. Walk beside her. We always tell our women that we'll run beside you. We can't run for you, but we will run right beside you. It honestly takes a village for most of these women that come in the door, so we want to wrap them in as much community as we humanly can. And honestly, there's days that we say to women, today all I can do is pray for you. But then they're leaving with a sense of hope. They're usually a sense of peace and a sense of having somebody, in their corner. We all like to have people supporting us in our corner. And the hope and the prayer. When women come in our doors, we want them to experience the presence of Jesus. We want them to know that they are loved by God, that they are a daughter of the Most High. I'll just, one last thing before we go ahead there. I just wanted to, when we're talking about a week at Her Victory, I don't want to sensationalize it, but I also want to, with Her Victory, we're very raw and real about what it is, what trafficking is, what the sex trade in your city, the underbelly of the city, of what's going on. So I wanted, this week alone, I wanted to share, we had a woman that came in trafficked. She was trafficked from Alberta to BC, and we had worked with her for a couple of years, hadn't seen her in a while. And she came in this week, she was trafficked to BC, she had escaped, and she was held underground naked in a dog cage for months. We had another woman come in this week. She was being held in a U-Haul van here in Calgary for weeks on end, being sold out of a U-Haul that was rented, I think, for like $50 a week or something like this, or $20 a day. We had a woman come in 2 weeks ago that was actively in the sex trade, and she was raped during a bad date and came in only wearing tinfoil. She had been kicked out of a trucker's truck, and she had went through a dumpster, found some tinfoil, wrapped herself, ran in our doors. Obviously lots of trauma. We got her showered, we got her clothed, we got her to meet with our social worker and our counselor. That doesn't solve everything, but at least that was, she knew that we were there, and that's why we opened our doors during the week. And we are seeing a record amount of pregnancies. With prostitution, you get, unfortunately, unwanted or unexpected pregnancies. And so we are walking with the women as far as that go through pregnancy, obviously with other organizations, but we've had some really successful adoptions out of Her Victory. And that brings a huge smile to my face, because not only are we walking with her, but we're also walking with this life as well, and breaking the cycle. So that's been really wonderful to see. I should mention our home, our safe home, one of the beds is actually designated for emergency, a woman that has been exploited that is pregnant, because the city is not equipped right now for such things. So we want to open our doors for that. So I've got just a quick video here.
From here forward, I'm free, and I'm going to treatment, and I'm free from the sexual exploitation, the need to be high in order to do that. And so I'm really excited, because I want to come back and I want to volunteer here and be a big part of the community, and give back to those that may still be struggling. And I'm just really grateful to God and to this spiritual experience that has just changed my life.
They saved my life. I was so close to just giving up.
Everything started to change. I didn't realize I was walking into a life with God through those doors, and that He was with me this entire time, and it's like, that is what saved me today. I know it is.
I got attracted to the place because of the help, the resources, the support that the church had. I don't have that anywhere else. My mind frame is different. I have hope. I didn't have that before.
I needed help because I knew I wasn't in the right state to have a baby. You know, everybody thinks that you give up your child because you don't love them. You give them up because you do.
They've helped me change the ways of getting off the stroll and getting into a better life. Make me feel like I'm a person now.
If this place wasn't here, I'd be lost. Changed my life. Made me believe in God and people. Clothed me, fed me.
From prostitution to purpose. Our mission is to advocate, restore purpose, and create trusting relationships with those caught in the sex trade, exploited, or at risk of being trafficked. We are here for the marginalized, abused, vulnerable, and often forgotten women of Calgary's prostitution stroll. We are boots on the ground, hands-on approach to supporting and directing women through exiting exploitation, addiction, sex work, and crisis. We know each of these women and their stories personally. Relationships are the bridge to restoration. Her victory. Healing, exit, restoration.
Yeah, so that's us in a package. I should mention all of the voices you hear on that video are women of Her Victory. And so, you can go to the next slide if you can remember for a sec. Honestly, this, I cannot say enough. This is our leadership team. There's so many more other individuals and volunteers that are involved. We are a small but mighty team, I have to say. I have to brag on them. We've got one of our board members in the back, Scott, if you can just give a wave. We have an excellent board. They're very hands-on. This is not just a board that sits there and does the paperwork and the agendas. These are people that are invested in the mission. So from board members to volunteers to our leadership team, which again, I just cannot brag on enough, but honestly, all glory to God. We could not do this in our own strength. The areas that my team treads in the darkness. Someone prophesied actually over us and said, you guys tread to go where angels fear to go. And so I just want to brag on these individuals who day in and day out, they put their heart and their soul into this. And really, like the video said, it's about creating trusting relationships. And each one of these women, our leaders, our volunteers, bring a different gift and a different, relation with the women that come in our doors. And so, with our team, we've got, just to break it down quickly, we have an on-site outreach center. Like I mentioned, we're located on one of Calgary's last prostitution strolls. And so we've got a team, we're open Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with showers and clothing and care packages and bras and underwear and all the necessities, but really it's relationally about connecting with these women. I like to say it's about the makeup, but it's not about the makeup, because they'll come in for the makeup, we'll talk about clothes and these sort of things, but it's really just gaining that trust and just having that conversation. And it's like, well, how are you? And usually by, an hour or two, it's like, can I pray for you? No one ever says no. I have to tell you, I've had one woman once said, no, that's not for me. And I said, well, I'm gonna pray for you when you leave. And she's like, okay. And then, we got to know her, we were joking around. And then, eventually she's like, can you pray for me? There's a hunger, to belong, for love, for relationship. And I always say to them, we're friends. Sorry, you're stuck with me. We're friends now. But it's just that sense of having somebody. And it's like, you're part of this family. We tell all these women, you're a part of this family now. Sorry, you're stuck with us. So that's our on-site outreach center. That's where we've got our social worker, we've got our caseworker, but really it's about just loving them and bringing them in community. And there are things like, can you connect me with addictions applications? A lot of these women have no family, no friends, no cell phones, no other support, so we become the bridge there for their support network. And that's including a lot of case management. I'm going to talk about pastoral care in a moment. We do have an awesome team goes in the illegal massage parlors in the city of Calgary. You would be shocked how many there are in this city. Shocked. Over 60. Now, these are legal establishments. The city actually gives these establishments licenses. And so they're very easy to run. They can go underground very easily. So we have teams that have spent years and years creating just to get in the door. Before, I know our massage team leader, she said, I'm a glorified cupcake deliverer, because that's how we would just get in the door. We just bring cookies or cupcakes, these sort of things, and eventually and this is God opening these doors. We are now in the parlors, we have a relationship with the madams, the managers, and they're allowing us to come in and talk to the women that actually work in these establishments. Speak Life, we've brought Bibles in a few, there's a little bit of prayer. It's a very, very dark place to come into. But we just want to bring a little bit of light, we want to bring some Jesus, and we're making headway. So just awesome. There is a lot of trafficking that happens through these massage parlors. I could talk about this area for a long time, but with time constraints, you get a lot of immigration. So I would say 90% of the massage parlors we go into are Asian massage parlors, and a lot of the women working there, obviously are here illegally. They feel very trapped. They don't speak the language. They don't know how to work, have bank accounts, these sort of things. So it's really good. We just crack in with a little bit of hope every time we go in there. We're in the prisons, so we've been in the prisons for quite some time. My kids always bug me because jail is my favorite place. Honestly, I love being in jail. I love it. When I retire, everyone wants to golf or do these other things. I want to be a chaplain in the jails. Like, that's my retirement plan. But there's really, women there are fed, they're sober, and when you're in jail, you're hit rock bottom, like you really have. So there is a hunger for some sort of hope. So we actually have a program where we meet women one-on-one that have been exploited. Honestly, by the grace of God, we're in the jails because they've been trying to kick us out as a faith-based organization for years, and we keep getting our way back in there. And so we're reaching these women when they're incarcerated. So when they're released, they know they have supports, they know they have someone to go, where they can go, they know they have someone who can advocate, or simply for these women, because they leave with what they came in on their back. And so they can get a shower, they can get some clothes, and they can just connect with somebody. So, and just really some interesting conversations in jail. A lot of pimps, a lot of traffickers, they will be the person to pick you up from jail. They are the first person to pick you up. We want to break that. Again, I mentioned about the strolls. We're on the strolls, inviting women back to our place, but meeting women in their environment. This is in the evenings. We can pray for these women. We bring little packages. And pastoral care. This is something we're super excited about. We've got a female pastor now on staff, and we started Wednesdays, we call it Church on the Stroll. So, when we're meeting these women, that's just like any church. You want to disciple once you get that, and it looks different than it does at this church or usually any other church, but these women come in on Wednesdays, they know us, we have the relationships with them, we have some worship, we have a very packed message, and just where they can be in the presence of God and they feel comfortable there. They're not going to walk usually in a mid-class church or, they're just not comfortable doing that. So we want to disciple these women. So we've just started that, which I'm really, really excited about. And then of course our program housing, which is Her Home, which I'm going to just talk about here in a moment. You can go to the next slide. Her Home is a fully supported community living program designed for survivors of human trafficking and exploitation. That's what this home is for. We are grounded in compassion intervention, meeting individuals where they're at, but not leaving them there. So what does that mean? We want them to go, when they go through our program, to live the God-given purpose that God has put on their life. We want to equip, we want to empower them to just spread their wings and live independently, live the life, get employment again, reconnecting with their kids, not going back to where they were. So healing and recovery. What does a week look like at Her Victory? So of course we're a non-disclosed location where women get their own room. It's community living. There's a live-in there. There's a lot of support, community. But weekly, 3 days a week, there's trauma-informed weekly classroom programming. It's completely Christ-centered. We want to disciple these women. We've got one-on-one counseling available that'll happen every week for them as well, because with exploitation and trafficking comes a lot of trauma, a lot of things to unpack. And so we want to offer them free counseling for a year as well. We do a lot of skill development. There's life skills training, employment readiness, financial literacy, and just providing them with the tools that they need to achieve independence. And community and connection, this is huge, this is big, this is where we're so relationship based. A supportive network of mentor staff and fellow survivors, fostering trust and belonging. We involve a lot of survivors to come in and give messages of hope. Join us on we do outings. So for example, like we've got an outing with a ranch with horses, or we'll do an activity out in the mountains. I know the 8848 group previously has done woodworking, you know, they made those frames or crosses, and so it's just amazing, you know, just the things that we can do, but yeah, we just, they come in with heavy weight of trauma, fear, isolation, and then long after even leaving these situations, there are huge systematic barriers to stability and healing, and one of those things is a lack of shelter and community, so we want to stand in that gap for them. Is this too much information? Am I talking too fast? Is this okay? This is okay. It's a lot to unpack, so. We don't have a pink door. I wish, Scott, can we paint the door pink?
That is not the house.
That is not the house.
So
I would
driving
love
around Calgary looking for that?
Yeah,
You'll
you're
be
not.
driving for a while.
Yes. I wish it was. I wish that was my house, but no, it's a lovely pink door. So, okay, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah, just to give you an idea, this always blows my mind how faithful God is. When I get to the end of the year and I have to do an impact report and I get all our teams, our stats, and we summarize them, I'm just like, wow, like, God, you are amazing. Like, I look at our team and I look at, like, how does this even happen? I'm not gonna read every stat, again, this is on our website, but last year, 2,586 women seeking help and assistance to our outreach facility. That's how many walked through our doors. 549 exploited women received case management and addictions referrals. That's a technical term, but really they were seen, they were heard, they were connected with. That's really what that stat is all about. 260 exploited women received assistance to shelters. I believe that could be higher, but unfortunately in the city of Calgary, there is not enough housing and shelter availability for women in the city. 38 women were assisted in exiting the sex trade. I'm going to talk about the stat in a little bit, but that's astounding. I'm not saying that every one of them have exited. It actually is 1 out of 12 times that a woman will actually successfully exit. I think the national stat, they say it's 1 to 5%. I would say it's closer to 1. Once you are in it, it's very, very hard to get out. 233 exploited women connected with and assisted in prison. I'm going to tell you, and Pat, I know your husband has worked in the jails. It is a dark place, a very, very dark place. These women just feel isolated. They have to armor up. They get very guarded. And when we get to meet them, they actually give us a room to meet with these women. You see the guards come down. We're able to pray for these women just to get them through the next night. So that's just beautiful there. Some women received some counseling, and 169 women in illegal massage parlors were visited. I believe each one of our team members has honestly been handpicked, anointed by God. So when they walk in these doors or they go in these dark pockets, like, they are literally carrying the fragrance and the light of Jesus. And that's what's so important to us as a ministry, first and foremost. So that's a testament to the team and to God. Go to the next slide. These are just some, if you might be interested, trauma-informed care is something that we heavily believe in at Her Victory. What is trauma-informed care? Trauma-informed care is provided based on the awareness that everyone has experienced some level of trauma, therefore creating safety within the therapeutic relationships to avoid triggering and re-traumatization. That is crucial, especially for women that has faced this for years and years and years. The average recruiting rate for women, or I should say girls for human trafficking, is 13 to 14 years old. I have 2 teenage daughters. That is a terrifying stat. So you've got to think from a younger age. A lot of the women coming in our doors are getting younger and younger, but we see women up in their 80s. We even have actively working in the sex trade. So the amount of trauma and grief and everything that they've gone through. So our team is trained in trauma-informed care. Quickly, that includes safety. That's both emotionally and psychologically. We make sure for our volunteers, our staff, and for clients coming in the door. choice. We are really big in choices. We believe in creating space for every individual to know she has the freedom to make her own choices. We don't force anything. When she is ready, we let her be her hold the steering wheel, that she has full choices on what she wants to do. Collaboration. We work alongside her to support her, to take her the next steps and where she is ready to be. This includes a lot of partnerships. This is why we believe so heavily at Her Victory in collaboration and partnerships. We cannot do this alone. Anyone who wants to be siloed in this is going to get swallowed. So just to give you an idea of some of our partners, Not My City, as I mentioned, is a big one. Calgary Police Service, we have such a healthy, good standing relationship with Calgary Police. Alberta Health Services, we have an STI testing nurse that's on site. I should have mentioned that earlier. The provincial government has been really, especially the provincial government in place right now, which we hope is going to continue. I don't want to get political, but they have been very supportive in the work that we're doing. The City of Calgary, the Alberta Centre to End Trafficking in Persons, we are a main partner with them as well. And numerous other social agencies. We work with all agencies, faith-based, non-faith-based, in the city. Foundations, churches, individuals, I mean, collaborations are absolutely key. This isn't a partnership, but I'm gonna throw it in as a plug. Newsboys are coming to the concert on June 2nd, and they've chosen to support Her Victory. So if you see us on the bulletin, we've got a table there, $1 to every ticket sale is coming to Her Victory. So that's a God thing, that's amazing. And also look for us at, we'll be keynote speaking at the Calgary Prayer Breakfast in October. So that's a little plug, just throwing that in there if you guys want to come. Trauma-informed care, trustworthiness. Decisions are made with transparency, with the goal of building and maintaining trust. We're all about trust. These women that come in, they know their guard is up. We are authentic. They will know the moment that you are not being genuine or authentic. They can smell it. And so we are all about just being authentic and creating those transparent relationships. And then empowerment. Clients' strengths are recognized, built on, and validated. This includes a belief in resilience and the ability to heal from trauma. We always talk about this as a team, like your words are powerful, that's biblical. And so when you speak encouragement and truth and life and hope into someone's life, you just slowly see them begin to elevate. And then when we pray for them and you bring Jesus in the center of that, that's when all the magic happens. I'm not saying their circumstances changes that day, we're very open about that, but there's something inside that starts to change. So that's trauma-informed care. Next slide, ma'am. I'll be really quick. Is everyone tracking, following? I know this is a lot of information, and so I packed in what I could, and so I appreciate your patience. If you want a break, just put your hand up and let me know. What is trafficking? As I mentioned earlier, human trafficking involves recruiting, moving, or holding victims to exploit them for profit. And this is usually for sexual reasons or forced labor. According to the United Nations, trafficking must involve 3 things: action, means, and purpose. We see this daily at Her Victory, daily. Action, what is that? Women who are being recruited, transported, or being held hostage. That's the action of human trafficking. The means is usually a bribe for the next hit or abuse of power, threat, force, or control. And the purpose is sexual exploitation, flat out, that's what it is. Just to give you an idea of the scale of this issue, human trafficking, selling people, is the fastest growing crime in the world. Not in Canada, not just in Asia, in the world. And we believe, like, this breaks God's heart. We know how God feels about slavery, and it is the fastest growing crime. A true scale of human trafficking is unknown. We can attest to this because it is so underreported. It is such something that police, authorities have such a hard time keeping up with. These traffickers are quick, they're fast, things are moving so quickly. It's hard for them to get a grip on this. It's hard to get people to report. It says, just to give you an idea, in the world right now, 27.6 million people are exploited for labor. 17.3 million are forced into marriage, 37% of these are children, and 12% forced labor, are children. As far as gender goes, now this is a stat from a couple years ago, 71% of trafficked women, of human trafficking are women and girls. Now, in that population, the indigenous population is disproportionate to the population. They are 4% of our population and 50% of human trafficking victims. And at 29% it says are men and boys. So just to give you an idea, as far as the age, 30.2 million are over 18 and 10.1 million are children. Slide. So sex trafficking, how does it happen? You know, there are so many things we could get into, but I'm just going to touch on 5. Sex trafficking, how does it happen? First and foremost is luring. Luring identifies a vulnerability. Addiction, abuse, poverty, homelessness, isolated from family. There's luring then moves into a grooming stage. This is offering lavish gifts, meeting all their needs, providing love, but withdrawing if she doesn't do what the trafficker asks. It starts very small and then it increases to other sexual acts. Therefore, she has to do what she says to get that love back. And this is what we call a love trauma bond. The grooming game gauges how much the trafficker can break her. This is where the trauma bonds are formed with positive reinforcement. And I mentioned earlier, the grooming age right now in the stat is between the age is 13 and 14 years old. So these traffickers, they are in your churches, they are in your malls, they are at your schools. Unfortunately, they are everywhere. Isolation, creating a distance between individuals and their loved ones, or what might be a person of safety. I once had a survivor tell me she had never experienced someone pursuing her and getting to know her so intimately until she met her trafficker. She longed for that intimacy, and it was easy to fall into his trap because she so desperately desired just connection, someone to love her. And we must ask ourselves, are we taking the time to pursue survivors, meet their needs, and allow them to feel loved over and above the trafficker? Isolation, this is just to trap her in the trafficker's world, forcing her to withdraw from family or supports, lack of access to their cell phone. We see this all the time. They control their passports, ID if they have them, all of their possessions. Often plays out making her family seem like the bad people, like they're not allowing you to do this, and just isolating them from any supports that they might have. They'll never understand why you're doing this. They'll never understand you. I understand you. And then, you know, the grooming and the gifts. They smell vulnerability. Manipulation and coercion. We've seen this as well. This is threatening family. Statements like, you owe me, you feel trapped, I know where your family lives, I know how many kids you have, I have your ID, I have your passport, you'll never be able to leave. And exploitation, which forces her basically into the sex trade and then keeping all of the monies that is made from that. We are seeing more and more now. Just last week we had a case, a father came in to see me, and you know, in a well-to-do community, and his teen girl had been approached at a mall, and it was by a female with a baby. So, you know, the traffickers now, they are starting to use females, because female to female, usually there's a little bit more of a trust built there. This woman actually had a baby with her, so it seemed very innocent. It was like, I'm just, hey, how are you? I just noticed you, I'm connected with this modeling agency. You know, they have all their, but you know, because normally now with the male, it might just, you know, it's like your spideys go up, even as a teenage girl, and I don't know you, but as someone who looks like a mother figure. So they've got all the tricks of the trade, and unfortunately they're using anything that they can. So, quickly, next slide there, just the common recruitment methods will be very quick. There's something called boyfriending, it just sounds like what it is, pretending to be your boyfriend, lavish gifts, love, but later uses her as a commodity. Female recruiters, as I just mentioned, this is on the rise, using females now to recruit young girls, especially ones they see that are vulnerable, that may not have a lot of friends. They can just sense maybe the lack of self-confidence. They know how to pick them out in malls. They're very, very savvy, and even in schools. Sextortion, the extortion of sexual favors from someone by threatening to reveal evidence of their sexual activity. This is more online. This is something we're seeing more and more. A lot of predators, Snapchat, Instagram, they are on every platform that you can imagine. I know with my kids, they're just like, Mom, but I know they are very good. They're very savvy. So a big, obviously with the online platforms, all these kids are connected, is friending these individuals online. You know, there's sudden signs. I encourage you, if you want, Not in My City has a great 30-minute presentation on great online course and materials on grooming, what it looks like. You get a certificate after. It took me about 30 minutes, but it's really good, especially for those that have teen children. Okay, next slide. Control tactics. We see a lot of physical, sexual, and emotional abuse. Like I said, sextortion, withholding personal identification, isolation. What we're seeing a lot more too, especially with the women that we see that are actively in the sex trade, is forced drug use or drug debts. I won't get into it, but we had a case of keeping women in a sea can here in Calgary over the winter months. It's like -40, and they just drug them and pull them as they need them. And so we were a whistleblower, her victory of one of those, because we ended up meeting with one of the women on the stroll. So we just are thankful to God that she was able to voice up what was going on. You know, promises of a better life, projecting blame and responsibility, branding or tattooing. We see so much of this, especially in the prisons. There is, with trafficking and exploitation, there's a lot of gang affiliation with this, and literally will brand them in ownership. We do have some grant funding that we were successful in getting to do tattoo removal, so that's something that's really exciting, because once they decide and they're out and to break free, that is one of the things that's important, and it's usually can be with on the face or the neck. And or getting women pregnant. This unfortunately is a tactic as well, so that they will stay, and because, you know, we will hurt your baby, or this is gonna happen, we'll take care of you, but it's another control tactic, unfortunately, that is used. I want to read you a quote from our parlor leader. She said, "Well, not all women we meet are being trafficked. It is important to recognize that most of those women, if given the proper opportunity and supports, would leave the sex trade permanently." And that's why we want to go in these places and just, you know, give them opportunities and hope that there are actually supports for them. Okay, next slide. Quick stats, this might surprise you, 93% of traffic victims in Canada are actually Canadian citizens. A lot of people think, oh, it's just people overseas, or, you know, these sort of things, but no, these are actual Canadian citizens on Canadian soil. The average annual profit from each trafficked person in Canada is $280,000 a year. So what's happening, a lot of gangs and whatnot in the drug trade are shifting to trafficking, because once you sell a drug, that's it, it's sold. But a human can be used over and over and over again, and so it's very profitable. So unfortunately, that is why it is one of the fastest growing crimes in the world. Out of 100 Canadian women, 42% of recruiters are women who are controlled by a pimp. We see this in her victory all the time. It takes us a while to break some of the, you know, the conversation, but something's a little bit fishy. She's giving them burner phones. She's buying them. We're all saying, like, where did you get that Gucci bag? You know, you don't have a house. You don't, you know, it's these signs that that you look for. Runaways are often picked up by traffickers within 24 to 48 hours, and that's just that vulnerability component. Okay, next slide. So barriers victims face in leaving their trafficker, this is really important to us because if we're gonna do our work, we also wanna know, we wanna fill the gaps. We wanna fill the barriers that are for these women possibly wanting to leave. A lot of the women that we see coming through our doors in our outreach are in the pre-contemplative or contemplative stage, which means they're just creating the relationship and starting to think. It's a very complex situation. What does that mean to leave and to break the barriers? Housing is a huge piece and a huge component, which is why we're excited about launching Her Home. 64% of people reported being homeless or experienced unstable housing at the time they were recruited into their trafficking situations. Addictions, I would say 98% of the women we deal with are in addiction. Many have been drugged or become addicted to continue this lifestyle. We talked to a lot of women that just said, I need to be doing this in order to be able to do this. And then the addiction takes over. When the news talks about the opioid crisis, like this is a real thing. They've actually dumbed it down. It's actually a very big crisis in the city of Calgary. Trauma bonds may be created. This is created through a cycle of abuse and positive reinforcement. Like we've had so many conversations with women about leaving, we can get you exited, we're working with city police, all of these things, and it's actually just scarier to get out and to leave. So we have to break those bonds if possible. But again, it's fully her choice, but it takes a lot of conversations. We have women that we've known for it took 6 years in order just to finally like get past the pre-contemplative, okay, now I'm ready. How does Her Victory assist or help them to leave? Basic needs. We start, A, by love, meeting them where they're at, and providing some basic needs. Agency partners, collaborations, we're willing to go into those dark places, relationships, walking alongside them, counseling, the housing piece, the advocacy, creating and providing a safe space, and really bringing the love of Jesus into this. 2 Corinthians 3:17 says Jesus breaks the chains of slavery. Where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And a lot of these women that are in the pre-contemplative, it's like, your situation is maybe not gonna change, but here's what I can offer you. There can be a change in eternity and there can be hope. And we do see women that leave with a sense of peace. We give each woman scripture, we have little bracelets, the rubber ones with scripture on them, and they'll come and say, in the middle of the night, like I hung on to that bracelet, or onto that word that you gave me. And so that's progress, that's actually a win, when these women can leave with instead of a sense of hopelessness, but a sense of hope. And we always tell them, we're not the hope, Jesus is the hope. Yeah, so the exit process, most women, like I said, come in the contemplative stage, but it often takes 12 attempts to escape before a victim of sexual exploitation is ready to leave for good. Like I said, it's literally less than 1% that get out. So we get the question all the time, how do you guys keep doing this day in and day out? Do you get frustrated? What's the point? And that's when I can just come back to Her Victory is for the one. And we tell a lot of these women that even we just reach in that moment where they just needed a place of safety, and it's like, this is for you. That baby for the adoption, this is for you. So we are all about the one. The next slide. The cycle of change. I'm almost done here, guys. Being boots to the ground, Her Victory really engages and supports individuals between stages 1 and 3. That might be a little bit hard to hear. Stage 1, so it's a 5-stage model of change to describe the process of exiting human trafficking relationships. So the first one I mentioned is like pre-contemplation. This is where she's aware that there's a problem and has no intention of making change. You would be shocked at the number of women that come in, once we get talking about their situations, they don't even realize that they're being trafficked. They have don't even realize, and they're like, no, this is just what it is, or he's this, and we're like, you are being trafficked. And it's a bit of a shock, but a wake-up call that they don't even realize. And you know, that there is a problem. Some of these women have been in this since they've been 12 years old. And so we've had women exit, we've got them in safe housing, and they return and they've said, this is all I know. My life, like in exploitation or being on the sex trade, this is all I know. So it's breaking a lot of those. So that's the pre-contemplation. Contemplation, a person is aware now that there's a problem and they're considering change but hasn't made any commitments to do so. This is what we love. We're always like, you're loved by God and you have choices. And we're gonna stand in your corner. So when you are ready to leave, that's when our doors are open and we're available. Preparation, a person starts making small changes to their behavior with the intention of making additional larger changes, if I cut off, was that number 3, sorry, in the near future. So this is starting to think about it. Okay, let's do this. Let's start making an exit plan, but I'm only gonna start talking about it in step 1, 2, and 3. And 4 is action. They make a visible and overt behavior change, such as leaving the trafficker, which is huge. Stage 4 and stage 5 is where our housing comes in. Because stage 5, after they've decided to leave, is the maintenance phase. If change has persisted for 6 months or longer, individuals in the maintenance stage, the ultimate goal is actually to avoid relapse. So in our programming, we do a lot of relapse prevention program with supports and whatnot in the home. Okay, next slide. What does the Bible say? What does the Bible say, and how do we respond as Christians? I think each one of you just being here today, being open to hearing about this information, partnering with Freedom 8848, putting your boots literally to the ground to climb in someone else's shoes, is responding as Christians. You know, Matthew 18 says, rejoice over the one. That's what we stand on. Psalms 82:3 says, defend the weak and fatherless and uphold the cause of the poor and the oppressed. Walk and lead by the Spirit. I always say to my team, the minute this ministry is not Spirit-led, it will die. So we leave this all to God. And I just bless all of you that are following your Spirit and being obedient to walk in someone else's shoes and fight and advocate for these women that can't fight for themselves. You know, we are called as Christians to see that the least of these are cared for. We always believe that when we help those in need, we're lending to the Lord. What else can we give Him? What does it look like for you? Maybe this is today, it is your move of action, and this is why you climb. You can't walk a mile in her shoes, but you can walk thousands of steps, all 884 meters of them, up mountains to support her. The Bible teaches we have a God who cares deeply for the oppressed, the poor, the marginalized, the abused, and all that are suffering. Every person is created in the image of God, and Jesus came to set the captives free. So let us climb for her and restore the beauty from ashes. The next slide I'd like to show, this is a woman that we met in prison recently at her victory. There's so many stories, I wish I had more time to share. So this is just a little bit of Andrea's story. Andres.
And what I want to say the most has helped me coming to her victory is building my self-confidence again. Bringing me to God, because I didn't believe in God before. And now that God's in my life, everything seems to be like going smoothly. Even if it's not smoothly, there's still something I'm learning from it. You know, good or bad, it's okay, it's good or bad, but there's still something we're learning from it. So it's nothing, it's something to be proud of. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad, you're just learning and growing from it.
Would you recommend other women?
Oh yes, I would definitely would love other women to come here for help. Love is the only answer with God. And love is the only answer, and we need to keep spreading it and helping each other.
There's another video round. No, you missed a video. One before that.
This one?
Yeah. 2 videos of her.
Why is it doing this to me? So that's not a video, it's this video.
Hello, my name is Andra, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of my story about how I have used her victory to help me change my life. 3 years ago, I lost my life to the floods in BC, the Fraser Valley floods. And for the last 3 years, I've been displaced with homelessness. Started in Vancouver and then in Calgary. A year ago, I ended up going to jail because of my homelessness. And in jail, I was struggling in jail. I was getting picked on in jail. I was having a really horrible time. And there was a sign-up sheet to meet someone from the church. And this beautiful blonde lady named Katira came. And I got to meet her that day. And I was really scared about being in jail. And she prayed for me. And I've never had anyone pray for me before. I just sat there listening, and it brought love to my heart. It made me feel like somebody cared about me when I felt like I had nobody. Katira gave me a bunch of information to come to her victory when I got out of jail. So when I got out of jail, the second day I got out, I came to her victory. And I came to meet with Katira because I was scared, I was lost. I was homeless again from coming out of jail. And I didn't want to have to go to a shelter. And Katira helped me along the way helped me get on income support, helped me with counseling, helped me with food, helped me with clothes, helped me with bus tickets. They've helped me with support. What I wanted to use, because I've been clean, I came to the church. Instead of using, I ran to the church. The support here has been the best support for me, especially for asking other women for help. I never used to ask women for help because I had issues with that, and now I only want help from women. So I'm so blessed that I've had this experience here. All of my charges have been dropped. Everything that I've been working really hard for the last year, my life is changing. I'm out of the old neighborhood that I don't want to be in. I'm in a new neighborhood now. All my charges are dropped. I'm on a new beginning. And it has to do with a lot of her victory. I'm so honored to have these women helping me along my way.
What would you say is more?
Oh, well, God's done everything because I never believed in God before. And I used to say, I can say this because in jail I be in my head a lot. And now I can pray and I don't get stuck in my head. God's there. You're not alone. Like, I know that I'm not alone anymore. And I was on the fence about God for a really long time. And now I am a believer. And you're never alone. You just have to have faith and hope. And you know what? I tattooed them on I tattooed faith here and hope a long time ago. So God's always been with me somehow, I guess. I just didn't know.
How has her victory helped you from where you were to where you
Her victory is also beautiful services. I've been doing trauma therapy with her victory for the last 6 months. And it's a free service. That has been huge help. I couldn't afford to pay for trauma counseling anymore, so it's been huge for me because it's been helping me move forward.
You saw that one? Yeah, let me just go to the next one.
So this one,
We already, yeah.
this one we saw.
Yeah.
So here.
Yeah, so Andra is really is a success story. We, right from the beginning in the prisons, coming in to meet our team, getting physical help, and these are the things you climb for when you raise funds. We always say to her victory, like, we invest in people that invest in people. And so you need trauma counselors, you need a social worker, you need a caseworker. We are really volunteer. The machine is run by volunteers, if I'm honest. honest, those are the mean people. But you know, when you climb and you raise funds, these are things so we can turn on our lights, so we can open our doors, so we can have qualified people, meeting people like Andra that go through the process of Her Victory and just wrap in community. Yeah, so and that's also an eternity that's changed. Her eternity has changed. She was so on the fence when we first met her about God, and I don't want any of that stuff. And we were just like, that's cool, you know? And she was like, you Jesus people are weird. And so we were like, well, we're actually not really that weird. And we just created that relationship. And then she started to come around, and we let God do the rest. We planted the seeds, and her heart just started to hunger and to grow. And she is our biggest supporter of Church on the Stroll. She's handing out pamphlets downtown. You guys got to come to this. You got to come into Her Victory, like women that are in the sex trade. She doesn't say that in her testimonial, but you know, that's where she was. The floods took her homelessness, got her vulnerable, and then you just get pulled in. So that's really, she's awesome. She's still involved in Her Victory. We want her to share her story when she's ready, probably in a couple of years at one of our events. And so, yeah, amazing story. God's got her. We're wrapping her as much as we can. Like I said, we don't walk for her, but we walk right beside her. So she's cool. How can you help? You guys are already here. You're already helping. Your support, you know, with the 8848 group, you're climbing, you're stepping out, you're hearing hard conversations, you're becoming aware, you're getting educated, you're supporting the 8848 group. But, you know, so, you know, sometimes we go to other organizations, say volunteer, but you're already doing everything that you can. Support using your gifts. That may networking with people who want your climb, you know, even just coming out to the climb, talking to other people and awareness of human trafficking. Supporting agencies like Her Victory, that's, you know, again, whoever you choose to climb for. Now, you will get this nice backpack. Let me just turn back. So if you choose Her Victory, you will receive one of these beautiful hiking backpacks, a lovely Her Victory water bottle, a snapped cap or toque with the Her Victory logo. And, sorry, okay, so that is true. That's not why you're climbing, but if, you know, all climbers that climb for Her Victory will get some of our merch. So yeah, supporting agencies, so just supporting us, we just appreciate it. Educate others, become a monthly donor. Engage in our social media. We have Facebook and Instagram, and overall pray for our team, for the ministry, for our board, for our partners, and for these women, just to cover them. If they come, got downloads in your mind, just keep us in your prayers. We need them. It is definitely, we are coming up against the sex trade. We are making headway, and the devil is ticked off. I will tell you, we face Scott can attest to this, we face a ton of warfare against our families, against the ministry, against us personally, our relationships, you name it. We are under attack. And so we just appreciate any covering that your churches, if you have small groups or you guys have a prayer list, just to keep the ministry as a whole and the women we serve covered in prayer. So the last thing I want to mention, we truly believe that as long as human trafficking remains hidden, it will continue to thrive. We just want to be God's soldiers. We want to expose the darkness. Any time that the darkness is brought before the light, the darkness has to go. And so that's why we go to these places. That's why we appreciate each climb. Each one of you is a light for these women. You're walking in her shoes, and so we just appreciate all of that support. Thank you for being willing to give your evening to climb for those that cannot fight for themselves. Yeah, so I just appreciate. We're going to open the floor for questions. I will try my best to answer them. Comments. I will be here after, so sometimes with this, it's a lot of information to unpack, and maybe you don't want to ask questions in the group forum. I have cards here with my email on them, so you can reach out to me via email. My phone number's on there as well, and I'll be hanging out a little bit. The Freedom guys are here as well. We've had lots of conversations. They have been down to the outreach. They have seen all of Her Victory, so I'm sure they can answer some questions for you as well. So, thank you.